Good morning. This is the time and place for the zoning cases hearing for March 14, 2012. My name is Bradley Collin, and I will be conducting the hearing as a hearing officer. We have two cases scheduled for today, and the relevant exhibits are posted on the panels behind me. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms, which have been provided by the front door and submitted to our planning assistant. I'd also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the zoning hearing officer's hearing today are recorded on tape as part of the public record. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by use of public notices which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The first request is for an application for a standards variance to construct an approximately 1,500 square foot house on an existing 3,750 square foot vacant lot located at 3731 5th Avenue in the R1 Low Density Single Family Residential Zone, Floor Area District 2. When the lot area is less than 5,000 square foot minimum for new construction, and it's described as Lot 299, Licensed Surveyor's Map, Book 14, page 27 and 28. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.43 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance shall be granted if four of the required findings are present. They are, first, that the strict application of the provisions of any such ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. Second, that there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone or neighborhood. Third, the granting the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. And fourth, the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, the hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. The hearing will proceed as follows. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. Then the applicant will be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address with a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments, if desired, in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers with a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission, or a decision may be made today. At this point, I'd like to ask the case planner, Mr. Nazarian.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Colin, good morning. The first item for today's hearing is located at 3731 5th Avenue. It's a variance case number PVAR 2011-019. Proposal is to construct an approximately 1,500 square foot house on an existing vacant lot that is 3,750 square foot in size, where a minimum of 5,000 square foot lot is required for a new construction on lots that have been subdivided before June 26, 1986, which is the case with this subject property. This case is exempt from CEQA, and it is located in the R1 Floor Area Ratio District 2 zone. Currently, the existing lot, the subject lot, is located in a neighborhood where almost all of the lots are substandard, less than 5,000 square feet, and this is one of the very few lots, vacant lots, left in the neighborhood. In fact, not too long ago, a similar project was approved, which is located on 4th Avenue and not too far, within 20 feet of this property, in fact. And staff believes that approving this request would be appropriate because all findings can be made in a positive manner, which I will let the applicant go through for you. Staff supports the project and recommends 4 conditions. One is that the development shall be in substantial accord with the plans submitted and presented today. 2, that all necessary permits shall be obtained from the Building and Safety section. 3, that the Design Review Board approval shall be obtained prior to issuance of any building permit. And lastly, that the applicant shall comply with all other requirements from other departments and sections such as Fire, Public Works and Engineering, Integrated Waste, Glendale Water and Power, etc. That concludes my brief presentation and overview. If you have questions for me, I'm available, and I will give the applicant a chance to go over the findings.
Okay, thank you. Just as a, as a note, the comments that were received from the various departments that staff sends around were basically standard comments that staff sees that are typically applied during the plan check process. There was nothing specific.
Correct. I apologize, did not mention that there are no major comments from other departments other than the standard comments that we usually receive.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one speaker card on this case. Kendall Hollis. Please state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Nazarian. My name is Kendall Hales. My address is 2852 Foothill Boulevard in La Crescenta. I'm the applicant for this project. Back in the 50s, this neighborhood was subdivided, and all these lots were created that were 3,750 square feet. Now that the zoning has changed that and upped that to 5,000 square feet, has made this lot substandard. This is actually the very last vacant lot in this neighborhood that will be developed, and we have just received approval a couple months ago on a property that is backs up to this one for its approval for construction. The proposed project will meet all other codes and standards except for the lot size requirement, and that is why we're requesting this variance. The intended code to promote, the intention of the code is to promote reasonable development of the property, and I feel that we will do that with going through the various agencies and the Design Review Board and the like to make sure that everything else conforms. I feel that if you read the report, that we have made all the findings so that this variance should and could be approved. I have no further comments at this time. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Nobody else wishes to speak on this? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And actually, Mr. Hales, can you come up one more time, please? Do you understand and agree to the conditions that were specified and recommended by staff?
Yes, absolutely.
And, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Based on the findings recommended by staff, facts and information presented at the hearing, and other applicable departments, I am going to approve the subject variance subject to conditions. After the hearing, a decision will be prepared in writing in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses, in which staff received none. The date of the decision will be the date on the letter. Under the appeals provision, Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from Building and Safety, the Permit Service Center, located on the same floor of this building. Thank you very much for that. We'll go on to the second case. The second request is for a conditional use permit to allow the construction of a new two-story, 3,522 square foot single-family residence on a lot having less than the required 80-foot minimum width as measured 15 feet back from the front property line. The subject lot has a lot width of approximately 68 feet and is located at 3338 Deer Creek Lane in the R1R Restricted Residential Zone, Floor Area District 3, and described as Lot 118, Track 28765. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.42 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a conditional use permit shall be granted if four of the required findings are present. They are that the proposed use will be consistent with the elements and objectives of the general plan. Second, that the use and its associated structures and facilities will not be detrimental to the public health or safety, general welfare, or to the environment. Third, that the use and facilities will not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of the surrounding property. And fourth, that adequate public and private facilities, utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures are or will be provided for the proposed use. In addition, every discretionary decision made relevant to properties in the ROS and R1R zones shall take the following into consideration, and there's 5 items related to the hillside design guidelines. First, the development shall be in keeping with the design objectives in the Glendale Municipal Code, hillside design guidelines, landscape guidelines for hillside development, and is now adopted and may be amended from time to time by City Council. Second, development shall be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood in terms of size, scale, bulk, mass, roofline orientation, setbacks, and site layout. Third, site plans shall show preservation of prominent natural features, natural vegetation, open space in a manner compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, minimizing alteration of terrain necessary for development. Fourth, site plans for development of property of steep slope shall take into account the visual impact on surrounding properties. And fifth, the architectural style and architectural elements of infill development shall be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. If the evidence presented in the application at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings, in fact, are not evident, then the request will be denied. The hearing will proceed as follows. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will be asked to come forward stating both name and address and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case either taken under submission or a decision may be made. I will ask Mr. Duong to give us a brief presentation about the project.
Thank you. Good morning, Hearing Officer Collin. Before I provide the brief overview of the project, I'd like to take notice of a correction that was inadvertently made in the staff report as well as the notice concerning the garage. The project is providing a 3-car garage, not a 2-car garage. So just to clarify that was a mistake. The 3-car garage will be provided, the third space will be provided as a tandem parking space. So it meets the zoning code requirement.
Thank you.
So as you stated earlier, the property is located at 3338 Deer Creek Lane, which is Zone R1R, Restricted Residential, Floor Area District 3. The applicant is proposing to construct a new 2-story, 3,522 square foot single-family residence with an attached three-car garage on a vacant lot that has a width of approximately 68 feet. The subject site is a slightly skewed rectangular-shaped lot located on Deer Creek Lane near the intersection of Oakmont View Drive. The site is located within the Oakmont View subdivision, which was created in the late 1980s. The subject parcel is surrounded by developed lots and appear to be one of two remaining lots that are still undeveloped. Most of the homes in this neighborhood were constructed in the late 1980s through 1990s. The subject site has a gently sloping downward topography towards the rear, which is towards the east direction of the lot. The overall average current slope is 12.66%. The lot encompasses 7,838 square feet, and there are no blue line streams, primary or secondary ridge lines, or indigenous trees located on the subject property. For vacant lots, the zoning code established thresholds for minimum lot size and lot width to determine whether or not a conditional use permit is necessary to develop on these vacant lots. The subject parcel has an overall lot area of 7,838 square feet and a lot width of 68.42 feet. The minimum lot size is 7,500 square feet, and the minimum lot width established by the zoning code is 80 feet. So in this case, the subject lot meets the lot size. However, it is short in lot width by 11.5 feet. Therefore, an approved CUP is necessary in order to develop the subject property. However, the width of the subject property is within the range of nearby parcels. And likewise, the characteristics of the subject lots in terms of the lot shape, size, topography, and frontage are also similar to the other properties in this neighborhood. Typically, staff would encourage that the property owner purchase adjoining vacant lots so that they could be combined to meet the 80-foot wide width. In this case, this option does not exist since the adjoining lots are developed with residences. Allowing the subject property to remain vacant would not be the highest and best use of the property. The proposed project before you meets all provisions of the zoning code in regards to setback, lot coverage, floor area ratio, building height, landscape, and parking requirements. The proposal to construct a new single-family residence is consistent with both the general plan's land use element for this area as well as the zoning code. The proposed construction of a new single-family residence would not adversely affect or conflict with adjoining similar uses. The proposed use is considered low intensity use and will not be detrimental to the public health or safety, the general welfare, or the environment. Oakmont View subdivision was created specifically for the development of single-family residences. The construction of the proposed project would involve minimal grading to include only 68 cubic yards of fill. There will be no cut at the rear of the property as a result of the downward slope. This amount would not require a conditional use permit for grading since it is under the established 1,500 cubic yard threshold. Approval of the requested conditional use permit for lot width does not appear to impact the surrounding uses and character of the neighborhood or compromise the quality of life in the area. And also, approval of this project would not prevent or impede similar or like development in the same area. Because this is a developed and established community, public and private utilities have been in place and will be available for the proposed project. So it is not expected that the demand for public utility be greatly impacted, as well as traffic circulation, since this is a single-family development. The proposed design, while different from other buildings in the neighborhood, show consistency with these other residences in terms of its mass and scale, site planning, and its approach to architectural detailing and authenticity. Under the current proposal, however, the design is not incompatible with its neighbor, but the overall design could be further improved upon if it proceeds through the design review process. Improvement could be made to address and take advantage of the features of the lot as it relates to the issues that have been identified in the comprehensive design guidelines. Some of the issues that as you stated, not only is the project required to meet the 4 required findings, but also the hillside design guideline as it is discussed in Chapter 30.11.040A. Because the lot is relatively flat, it is not necessary to build into the hillside or terrace along the contour line as suggested by the hillside design guideline. The proposed residence is similar in scale, size, and design as surrounding homes, as I stated earlier. These homes mostly appear boxy, and they rise 2 stories and often have exaggerated entries. The proposed design of the residence suggests a mix of traditional, classical, and contemporary influences. Now, while there is no preferred architectural style, the chosen design, as well as its detailing and materials, need to be consistent and authentic throughout. As presented currently, the proposed residence does not appear to have achieved this objective. But again, the way it is proposed at the moment, the project is consistent with surrounding homes in terms of its style, mass, scale, and site planning. Generally, the Oakmont View subdivision is not known to have architecturally significant homes, since most were constructed before the advent of the design review requirement. The proposed project, as I stated earlier, is consistent with these homes, but new infill projects should not simply mimic what's around them. So in general, staff is able to make the 4 required findings, and the project consistency in its site planning and how the building addresses the street and its minimal alteration to the natural feature of the lot will be considered consistent with the finding of Chapter 30.11.040A. Therefore, based on the above reasons, staff recommends approval of the CUP, but it should be conditioned that the project required the review and approval of the design review board, and possibly the proposed design should be reevaluated before proceeding to that process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dong. All right, at this point, I'm going to open up the public hearing. The first speaker will be the applicant, Gaurav Nazarian. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. Gaurav Nazarian with Domus Design, 109 East Harvard Street, Suite 306, Glendale, California.
Throughout history, numerous cases of man's inhumanity to man have occurred. Some of the more unspeakable ones, such as the Armenian genocide and the Holocaust, have taken place just in the last 100 years. Unfortunately,
In R1R zone and surrounded with the R1R zone, which it's designated for the single-family development. And the proposed project, it's a single-family, 2-story single-family residence in the R1R zone, which is in consistency with the general plan and land use. And the proposed structure, it's incompatibility, with the neighboring development. We don't need any variance for, to setback, lot coverage, or floor area. We comply with all the zoning requirements. There is no additional discretionary permit needed for this project. And the area, it has been developed fully, and the public utilities, everything is placed and it's there. So this project, it won't be, have any effect in this sense too. So the project complies with all the zoning requirements just because of the lot width, which is less than 80 feet. And we are here for this conditional use permit. But I want to bring into your attention, even that area, even the lot size and the frontage of the property surrounding in that area, it's very similar to this one. So it's not a unique or, substandard lot or different from the other lot. This subdivision, it has been done this way. And we comply with all the requirements, and I understand the condition that I know that we have to go to design review board for the design approval of this. And but as mentioned, in this area there is no specific, architectural style that we have to go, work with that style. But of course, we will work with the design review board staff, and we will present this project for the approval. If you have any other additional question, I'm here to.
I have two questions.
Sure.
The first is there's a retaining wall at the back. What is the height of that?
The maximum height is 5 feet. It varies from 14 inches, 16 inches, up to 5 feet, which on the drawing, I don't have. Even on the A1 sheet, you see the elevations of the three elevations of the retaining wall. The maximum height of the retaining wall is 5 feet. It doesn't exceed the permitted height. If you go on the section 1.1, you will see the maximum height is 5 feet.
And is that a swale that's located behind the wall, the lower portion of the lot?
That wall? It's on the rear, parallel to the rear property line, that way.
Right, but behind the wall on the plan, it shows a cleared out line in between the landscaping.
Oh, that is the existing wash or channel that
Drainage swale?
Huh?
Okay. And then the second question I had is, where are you proposing to keep the trash? Are you going to have an enclosure place somewhere, or?
No, I'm not proposing any trash anymore. Most probably we can use. I can add that to my site plan too.
Okay, and then the third question, I assume there's going to be some sort of heater or AC for the house.
Yes.
Where is that being proposed to be located?
And I know that in this zone, the rooftop equipment is not allowed.
Correct.
It will be located on the north side of the building, where I have a notch there in the building, which is outside of the side setback area. I can put the units there.
There won't be any ductwork or anything coming
No.
out from there. It'll all be internal?
Internal, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Mr. Collin, I neglect to mention this, but in going through the comments that we received from the various departments throughout the city, staff did not find any comments that were unique or specific to this site. There were general requirements by the various departments.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the second speaker is no need to talk. There is.
Okay, the second speaker I have would be Serge Soroyan, and you don't wish to speak? Okay. The next speaker card I have is for Ziva Ivas. Did I pronounce that right? Ivas. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ziba Ivazi, and my address is 3335 Deer Creek Lane, cross street from the project.
Okay.
And the only concern I have is it talks about the width and everything, but it doesn't say anything about the height, that it's how high is going to be the building. Because if it's more than legal height, then it's going to cut my view totally. And the next door neighbors, one is 3346, has 17 feet, and 3352 is almost compatible with that one. I would like to know how high they're going to go.
I'll ask Mr. Duong to point that out for us.
The maximum height that's proposed right now at the back is 30 feet. The maximum permitted by code is 32 feet for a flat roof design. This is a flat roof design, so essentially the applicant can go up to 32 feet.
What about the front?
The front is 24 feet 3 inches.
How much?
24 feet 3 inches.
Yeah, that 24, my building is 22 feet and
22 feet, 8 inches.
8 inches, so they're high above me, and it's totally cutting me out. And as far as I remember, when we were building the house, they said that the front yard, that building should be no more than 17 to 20 feet, comparable with the next door neighbors.
Okay, well,
Because I remember when mine went 1 feet above my height, and they stopped my project for 6 months until we finished.
Right, I understand. What Mr. DeWong mentioned is what the maximum height is for the zoning ordinance under today's standards. So, in terms of view protection and also design, I believe the Design Review Board would be a great place to, definitely address that as well. But in terms of zoning code requirements,
Because
it meets code.
it's going to affect my property
Yeah.
value too. If they totally cut my view, that's it. I'm done. I mean, I'm not here to tell them not to do it, but it has to be comparable with the next door neighbors too. There's one next to them that they went above their height, and I believe when they start building, there was no one in there, and they just got 1 or 2 signatures from neighbors, and they built it. But the rest of them went with their zoning code.
And they all need to comply with the zoning ordinance unless the property owner has gone through the variance process. If the variance is approved, then, assuming they meet all the required findings, then they would be allowed to exceed height or whatever the code requirement that they're asking to deviate from. In this case, they're not asking to deviate from any code requirements, so what's being shown on the plans meets today's code requirements.
So they changed the code, basically?
It's possible. I'm not sure what the code was at the time when your property was built or what the situation is. But as I mentioned, the Design Review Board definitely takes into account, the design of the house. And I would highly recommend being a part of that process.
That was my concern. I
All right.
just want to know if, I don't want to
The
be
height.
totally cut.
And your elevation, too, is also higher than theirs as you
Yeah,
going
still,
up.
but
So
if they go...
even if you're 22 feet 5 inches, there's a steep slope on the street.
But still,
higher
if
than
they
theirs,
go
it might.
24 feet, I think they're going to come up to my level. It's like there's no view anymore.
Okay, well, we'll make a note of that.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. All right, if the applicant would like to come up, final comments?
Just, I want to bring to your attention, even if you go to review the pictures of the surrounding houses, mostly, not all of them, they are two-story buildings. And two-story buildings, it's, even if you keep 9 feet, 8 feet ceiling heights plus the structure, it will come to 20, 22 feet height. So I am not exceeding what is allowed by the code. And in addition, I want to submit these letters. I have 15 neighbors signed letter that they did review the project and they support the project. There are 50 neighbors that they support. Each letter with the address, name of the owner. We discussed with them. They reviewed the plans, and they don't have any objection.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At think at this time I'm going to take this case under submission, and decision will be rendered soon on the case. As it relates to, as I was saying, after the hearing, a decision will be prepared in writing. It will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who respond to the public notice, either by speaking at the hearing or by submitting written responses, and provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Under the appeals provision, Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from Building and Safety Section, Permit Services Center, which is located on this floor, room 101. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Is 10:09 on March 14th, and that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much for everyone for coming.
Thank you.